Welcome to Let's Talk Business Phoenix, the Greater Phoenix Chambers podcast. I'm your host, Todd Sanders, President and CEO of the Greater Phoenix Chamber. Each week, we tackle key issues affecting businesses, the community, and state, aiming to drive growth and overcome challenges while uniting community leaders to move Phoenix forward.
Let's Talk Business Phoenix was produced in partnership with Ideas Collide, an agency offering a full suite of custom marketing solutions for your brand's unique challenges. Make a connection at ideascollide.com.
Well, welcome back to the podcast. We are thrilled to have Ron Price today, who's the president and CEO of Visit Phoenix. Ron, thanks for being here.
I'm excited to be here.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, you're relatively new, but I think we can almost call you a native now to the Valley. Talk to us a little bit about yourself and maybe something that we wouldn't know that's not on your bio.
Well, it's getting up to 4 years. So
I know, that's what I'm saying. You're almost a native at this point.
But I'll take being new as much as possible. So a little bit about me, I guess. Well, my background is hospitality. So I started off in hotels and was with Marriott and Ritz-Carlton for a bit. And what I love about that, it gave me a really good background in a variety of things, everything from sales and marketing to revenue management and then to hotel development. And from there, I had the chance to leave Marriott, and a great company. But the opportunity was to be able to lead a tourism effort for the city of San Antonio, and that led me to working with a great city leader, Cheryl Scully. I don't know if you remember Cheryl. So she hired me into San Antonio, and I know she did a lot of great stuff out here as well. And I learned a lot from being that side of the fence because that was part of the city. I'd come from corporate, never worked on that side of the city before, so I got a front row seat to that, seeing how to build a city. And then from there, just moved up to Arlington, Texas, which is now kind of the capital of sports and entertainment for Texas, and that led me out here. So very excited to be here. I love it out here.
Well, we're glad you're here. We're originally from Texas then?
Originally from Texas, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so I didn't move too far.
Well, what's funny with Marriott, so if you think back in the day, almost 30 years ago, they would move you around all the time. And so I tell people, it's like, I've owned 16 homes. So that's something you may not know about me.
That is a good one.
Yeah.
That is a good one. Do you have one more then?
No, we're planting our flag deep, hopefully. So this is a good place.
All right, we like that.
Yeah.
And then another fact about you, besides the 16 homes, which is quite remarkable.
Yeah, you know what? I love getting out. I love the outdoors, so this suits us really well. Yes. And it's one of these places where I came in. I played golf maybe once or twice a year, and that bug bit me when I got here. So you'll find me on the golf course occasionally out here, more often than not. So yeah,
that's a good thing.
That's a good thing.
Absolutely. Yep. So yeah, 4 years. It's amazing how time does fly. But it seems like you've really done a lot at Visit Phoenix and moved a lot of strategy around. Tell us about kind of where you are and where do you want to be? Well,
I tell you what's great, number one, you come into a destination like Phoenix, and we represent the greater Phoenix area. And first off, there's such a great foundation out here for what we get to do. Not only is it a great place to visit, but also a great place to host these mega events. And so with my background, I aligned really well with a lot of things I had some experience in. The strategy, and I kind of give all the credit back to having that front row seat working for the city of San Antonio, is understanding all the great work that goes into building a good city, right, and a great city, and having that forward looking vision, if you will, of where you want to take a city, but what all it takes to do that. And I learned really quick, it's not just about, filling your hotels, it's not just about filling these airplanes, but it's about how do we build a better community through what we get to do each and every day. So that's kind of our motto at Visit Phoenix is, it's our goal to build a better community through tourism. And with that lens, it's been very successful, and especially when we think about what our strategy is. And so you'll see a lot of things that have changed over the last 4 years, and a lot of that deals with getting out into the community, really trying to pull people together to create a shared vision of where we want to go. And there's nothing more powerful when you have everyone shaking their head in the same direction, say we want that, right? And we want to go after that. So that's what gets us excited, and we build all our strategy around that.
Well, and I think you've done such a good job with incorporating folks outside of just the industry into
Yes.
what you're trying to do and that vision.
Yeah.
Because it makes it so much more sustainable.
Yeah, I agree.
So when I travel around, for instance, places like San Diego or Dallas, or for instance, Orlando, I always think, I think we compete really well with those cities. I really do. But I think you probably have a more nuanced view of that. How do we compare to some of these larger metros?
Well, when you can break it down in several areas. And so we are a top 10 destination when it comes to leisure travel.
Okay.
We're also a top 10 destination when it comes to meetings, conventions, and which is why you see a big effort put around our downtown Phoenix area with the convention center we have. I think we're number 7 or number 8 in the country as of last year. Why that is important is because when you look at different destinations like the one you mentioned, or the ones you mentioned with Dallas and Orlando and some others, they have this incredible anchor. A great convention center lays a foundation for constant business coming into the market, and that's a strategy for success for a lot of big cities. And for us, it's turned into how do we get the best thought leaders to come into our city. Coming into these conventions, and you go to conventions as well, and you get to hear great leaders speak or CEOs from companies. Not only does it give you a chance to go learn something, but if you are leading a company or a site selector, it gives you a front row seat to kind of kick the tires of that destination and fall in love with it, much like my family and I did coming here.
Sure.
And so
absolutely.
That's kind of shaped our strategy and leaning into what do we want to be. You hear the mayor talk about building the city of the future a lot. You talk about a lot and what you get to do. So where do we plug in from a tourism standpoint? And for us is how do we align and go after those conventions that fit very well with where we're going? So you'll see our strategy change and how do we go after companies in the biotech sector, semiconducting, anything in that type of space that we know is not going to go backwards. And we do a really good job with that. I think the team has done phenomenally well in attracting that type of business for us. But it's just one of those unique destinations. You think of the ones out there. How many destinations are destinations would you would love to go to a conference in, but you'd love to hang out afterwards? Right. And potentially it's the ones like, I can see myself living there, if you visit. So I think we have a lot of that in common with some of these great cities.
So thinking about it more strategically, what's our biggest challenge?
Yeah.
And what's our biggest opportunity?
There's when we think about the challenges out there, and we have some headwinds. There's certain things that we look at is we are a newer city. In the scope of things. And we know that in order to be competitive, we have to continuously invest. And I love the fact that, our airport is downtown. Our airport is also landlocked. And here we are in today's age, and I tell people this all the time, it's like, what a great time it is to live where we live, where the demand is growing, where eventually we're going to have to expand, right? And you'll see that downtown. You'll see it with the number of hotels that are wanting to come into the marketplace. So some of our challenge is, it's actually a good thing, is demand has grown so much thanks to the good work you've done, and I know our economic development folks have done. We've put ourselves on the map. One of the challenges I see with that growth is there's still a lot of the world, and even domestically, Todd, that they don't know who we are. And to a lot of them, we're an enigma. They don't know quite yet how to define us. And thankfully, we have a lot of these big successes that are happening, whether it's TSMC or what Dr. Crow's done with ASU. And, the list kind of goes on, which is great because it puts us on the world stage. But now we have to get out there and really tell people the story. Why are we unique? And what I love is, some people, we'll hear this all the time from visitors, is like, I had no idea, or companies that'll come in where they fall in love with us. And it's because we have not done a great job over the last 20 years telling our story. Organically, the growth has been phenomenal. And when I got here 4 years ago, it was one of those, thank God we had the Super Bowl. The Suns were on their way to winning an NBA championship, we thought. I think the Cardinals were 10-3 when I got here. So we were kind of the talk of the nation. And now what's happening is it's shifted into there's so much talk. People are curious. And so that's kind of one of those challenges we look at is I wish I could peek into the future, 3, 4, 5 years and see what our future marketing is going to do for us and telling our story and getting more people excited about coming here. Well,
speaking of getting people excited or getting to know us better, I know that you were part of the team that brought Air France here, for instance, and others. What role do you play in that? What do you see coming our way in terms of some more international routes?
No, it's a great question. And, our role really is, I think we do a really good job of talking about the quality of life. We can talk about why we're a great destination to visit. We're a great port, especially when you think of Air France and a lot of our European visitors. They love coming here, looking around here, and then they love getting in a car and driving around. And you think about what a great driving state we are. And then, even into our border states, getting into all the great attractions there. So there's a lot of intrigue there. But our role really is getting in and talking about how we can help their business. These airlines are businesses are looking to make money. How are we going to work with them to help fill their plane? And it happens on both sides, right? So now we have to go into France and start marketing over there. And But to the point being earlier, they're starting to learn about us, but how do we really tell the story and get them excited about filling that plane coming over here? And that happens with all of our international destinations. And so, our top 2 international destinations being Mexico and Canada, they know us very well, but there's still a lot of people who've never been here. And you can imagine where we're going next is, here we are in the semiconducting space, and Mayor and others have talked for years about how do we, lure in an airline to fly over to Asia. So that's kind of on our radar. If we had a magic wand, we'd make that happen. And the same holds true there, meeting with their leadership teams and from all airlines and talking about why we want them to come here and why this is a place that makes sense and help them understand it pencils out. Flying into this destination, I think you're going to have a lot of demand. So we set in that role.
Absolutely. I mean, it's such a growing economy and so much opportunity that I love that you're out there doing that. And certainly to get a carrier coming in from perhaps Japan or maybe Korea would be tremendous here for Phoenix.
We agree. And I don't think it stops there. And what I love is our airline team. I mean, what Chad has at Sky Harbor it's something special. And the team that he has there, that's all they think about is what's that next destination that makes sense. And research drives, the strategy.
Right.
And so we love working with them and identifying and seeing, hey, where do we start to see some popularity of people flying over? They may not start in France, they may start somewhere else. We see a lot of Indians coming over through Air France, or prior to that was with British Airways.
Sure.
And so it gets the thought process going first of why are they coming here? And then what can we learn about that traveler? And then how can we assist in building a good case as to why that airline needs to fly here? And
Absolutely.
so, I mean, here we're an international city. And what's interesting and is always fun is you meet people who grew up here, and they just think it's exciting that all of a sudden we're this international, city for them. So it's easy to get around.
It has changed remarkably, even in the 4 years. I mean, when you got here, correct? The amount of change, and to your point, TSMC and other companies coming here, really a game changer for us.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun to watch it.
So thinking about another aspect of what you do, and certainly sports-related tourism, I mean, we're, again, to your point about golf, but then we think about some of the major sporting events like the Final Four, the Super Bowl. All of those are such draws for us. How does that figure into the work of Visit Phoenix?
Well, I tell you what, those are things that, and I've been around the major events for a long time. It's every city I've been in. Luckily, we've had a play at a lot of these major events. And what I learned a long time ago, it's not just about the event. And I'll use Super Bowl as an example, is it's not just about hosting the Super Bowl. Now, it's granted, this is a big deal because every city would love to be able to have the ability to host it, and not every city can, right? And so luckily, we're a destination where we can host it, number one, and it's a destination where the fans want to be, the owners want to be. And so that makes it, easy for us to get out there and sell. But when I say it's not about that event, I mean, you think about the Super Bowl and the corporations that come in for these games. It puts us on the world stage, but not only the corporations coming in and entertaining or doing business while they're here, they're bringing in site selectors. And so we take advantage of that. And I remember having a conversation with Mayor Gallego and others well before the last Super Bowl, and it was a wonderful discussion because we were very strategic in our conversation of what do we want to get out of this. We know we're going to fill hotel rooms. We know we're going to see some great spending, in our marketplace. That's going to be a nice little pop. But what's the long-term give back? And that's what we're seeing from the big events is being strategic in the way that we think about going after these events. What's the give back to our community, our economy, obviously. But who can we bring in that we can showcase this incredible destination that has never seen it before? Site selectors. Now, I know there's a lot of wins. When you talk to, Chris Camacho, Chris Mackey, or Sandra even, there's a lot of big wins that come from that. And I think we take that same approach for every type of major event that we bring in. and see if we can get more out of it for the long term.
Well, and the gift that keeps on giving, like spring training, it's amazing, correct?
So when you look at spring training, I was just meeting with Bridget. She runs Cactus League for us.
Sure.
The economic impact of spring training, Cactus League, is the same as a Super Bowl, and we have it every year. So you think about that.
Hard to imagine.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And again, you get to see visitors coming in that is their getaway. That's their annual trip. And we continue to see the numbers grow for Cactus League. But that's, again, it's just one of those investments that were made many years ago into the Cactus League that is paying off year in and year out. And that trickles down to youth and amateur sports. That trickles into, our kids' sports that they play and those funds that help pay for the park. So it's a great give back to the community.
Any big sports programs or events that you see coming down the pike that we should know about?
Well, we've already announced, so next year we're hosting the Women's Final Four. And women's sports are off the charts.
Yes,
so we get excited about that.
That's great.
And so that's next year. We're excited about hosting that and rolling out the red carpet. And then in 27, we have the NBA All-Star Game. And this is one of those, we love Matt Ishbia and Paul Rivers and the Suns team there. And they have, made it a focus of how do they use what they have and bring some of these events in. And we love it. But that's going to put us on the world stage here for the next couple of years. And you got to realize there's a team out there that's actively pursuing mega events. And I say mega events because it's not just sports. Sports is great for us and we do well. And you think about with what Graham has at ASU, the athletic director, he's in it with us and we're working together to figure out how we go get these things. But it gets bigger than that. Think about some of these thought leadership events, if you will, our festivals, cultural festivals that we see in other cities. We've just had Coachella going on down the street. And so it gets the creative juices flowing. It's like, okay, well, if we're set up to do these mega sporting events, we could probably pull off some of these other incredible culture events as well. So those are the type of things we're looking at for the future.
Well, and I think also conferences, it's always astounding when I go downtown and I see hundreds or thousands of people that are here from out of state.
Yes.
First of all, thank you. Congratulations, because those are hard gets. How competitive is that marketplace?
It's extremely competitive. And if you look at some of the investments that are being made around the country, and especially some of the cities that we look at, we compete with on a regular basis, and we're surrounded by a lot of great cities that are great convention cities or destinations for mega events. San Diego, LA, and Dallas, Houston, and Denver being one that's popping up. It's extremely competitive. They're constantly investing into that infrastructure. And we too have, good ideas and areas in which we think we need to be investing in the future that we're going to be working on to continue to grow and then compete, head to head with them. But it's fun to be sitting here. I don't know that 20, 30 years ago, we could say we were in the same company as those cities. And now we are a major competitor. But it's very competitive. And when you think about this, when you bring in a convention or an event, you're bringing in people that come in, they spend a lot of money and they go home. They're not a burden to the services in the community. So we call it the OPM, other people's money. And that's what we invest in. And so that's why you see a lot of states doubling down in that area.
Well, and I think these cities are always evolving. They're always thinking about it. So for us, we can't lose track of the ball.
No, and you can't lose track of the ball and you can't slow the momentum. And I think that's what we have going for us. We've had a lot of really big wins. There's more coming. And I'm not even privy to the ones that are coming. You may be, but when you talk to our economic developers, they get excited. And that gets me excited. And so I think we just need to continue to focus on how do we build a better city, a better community, and for each of us in our own little disciplines. And ours is like, how can tourism play a role in that?
So to that point, can you share some recent insights or trends on visitors coming into the Valley? What does that look like?
Yeah, we've grown so much. So you can imagine after COVID, everyone was kind of slow to bounce back. But the fact that people could spread out in our marketplace and the fact that we have like one of the largest collection of luxury resorts in the country, they could get out, they could spread out. We rebounded fairly well comparatively to some of these other cities, especially in the Northeast. And we've continued to grow from there. And because we have such a unique offering of products, everything from, the value products, if you will, great hotels, but also some luxury resorts, there's a big swing there and there's something for everybody. And so what we have seen here recently is a little bit of a slowing. And I always preface that, a slowing for us is different than a slowing for another city.
Okay.
Because we've been ahead of the curve for so long. And so a slowing for us, maybe instead of a 3% growth year over year, maybe we're flat, maybe we're 1% up. And so we're still doing very well. And speaking of that, when you think about, what's on deck, when you look at our hotels that are being built, or thought of being built, we have the 4th largest pipeline of hotels to be built in the country. This time last year, we were number 4 in the world. And so Shanghai was behind us. And so you look at this,
That's
it's like,
amazing.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
And you think about that. And so you have to keep that in mind when you think about what's happening. And, even you think about what's happening today at a national level.
Yes.
And, we are very focused on understanding behavior of travelers. We spend a lot of time and effort and research and analyzing that. And we think that, there's a lot of uncertainty in our world. Uncertainty brings a tightening of the wallet, especially in the corporate traveler. So we are looking at what are those corporations that are coming in for conventions. When you think about some of the things going on within government and kind of the tightening there, okay, well, we do a lot of conventions in which government employees come in, whether it be, environmental or education. So we look at all of that and try to figure out, okay, what are we seeing? Are we going to see a slowdown in the market? And I think that's what normally we're starting to see. We're seeing a softening. And for us, it's like, okay, how do we protect and preserve what we have? How do we be smart? I think that's the one thing good about our city is we're looking 3 steps ahead and trying to set ourselves up for long-term success. But that, when you look at the forecasting, it's hard to tell you what's going to happen, but I would probably bet we'll see a little bit of softening, but that's still good for us, right? And so we'll continue to see hotel growth. We'll still see some good investment happening in our destination, but we want to make sure that we're on top of it.
Yeah, and that's good for all of us.
Absolutely.
Having that investment here is amazing for our community.
Yeah.
And certainly if you're have a free weekend in the summer, you want to have a staycation.
That's right.
You kind of can't go wrong.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
So you mentioned international. Clearly, we're in the middle of a trade war. There's some hurt feelings by some of our best friends like Canada and Mexico. How is Visit Phoenix talking to folks in those countries about coming to Arizona?
Yeah, actively. So this is one of those, because of what you mentioned, we have such deep relationships, right? And I think too, it's like you look at the snowbird, that entire economy, that's a big economy here. And so we want to make sure that we're communicating often, working with our colleagues at the federal level, U.S. Travel Association, which is a big one. And how are they speaking to our representatives up in D.C. about, hey, listen, if this happens, there's a ripple effect. And we want to make sure that we're very careful in protecting our industry. But overall, it's kind of like one of these, when we saw Canada drop a little bit in the softening, we saw a little bit of the European market kind of take its place a little bit. And as we grow as an international destination, we'll keep a close eye on that. But we're hopeful as things rebound, we'll see just a breed diversification. So maybe it's not Canada coming in as strong as we hoped, but maybe we'll see a little bit more coming out of Asia or maybe even the UK. So we're watching that carefully. But I tell you what's great about that, though, and why it's important to us, when you bring in someone who's from Mexico or Canada or anywhere else around the world, they stay longer, and because they stay longer, they spend more money. And so for every destination out there, they have an international tourism strategy, and that's really what we're playing into, is how do we continue to grow that, because it is growing leaps and bounds year over year. That softening is happening, but how do we get in there and entrench ourselves to build better relationships, but also create a little bit, we're a destination they want to be.
Yeah.
And it's not where they have to be. And so as we build new infrastructure, TSMC being one with semiconducting, I think biomed's going to bring in a whole new international lens of our travelers, I should say. So we're making sure we're working with our partners and showing them that we're great hosts, and we want to be a place for them to travel to.
That's true. I mean, we've always had folks from Mexico and Canada here, and I think that's normal for us. And so when people come here, they see that they're welcome, and we want them in Arizona. That's
what we hear it all the time. We are such a diverse environment. I mean, most people aren't from here.
Yeah.
I'm not from here. I don't know about you, but that's what I think the visitor picks up on that. And just the fact that there's so much passion and hospitality, it bleeds into the economic side of things, that people feel welcome when they get here.
So when you're talking to visitors that are coming here, either from another state or another country, we have such an embarrassment of riches with outdoor adventure, dining, arts, everything. What are some of the hidden gems that you like to talk about with?
Well,
with our
you
visitors?
mentioned the outdoor space, and I was just talking to someone about this, and I still get to play visitor or tourist in my backyard because you get out there and you start hiking, and I'll just catch myself stopping on a hike or something and taking in the beauty. It's like the embarrassment of riches is true, and to a point where I see why people want to come back again and again, because you can't see it all. But when you think about some of the hidden gems for me, I'm probably the worst. My team laughs at me all the time. It's like, what's the latest restaurant you tried? And it's like, well, that's been around for ages. So I'm always stumbling on something that I think is my find, and my team just kind of rolls their eyes and like, okay. But there is a lot. And if you're into the culinary scene, this has grown. We've heard more from travel writers, from also media that's engaged in the culinary space, that this is the place to be. And you look at the number of restaurants that are open, the number of James Beard honorees, or those that are soon hopefully going to be winning an award, they're here and they call us home. And so we want to foster that and grow that. But there's a lot of these hidden gems that I'm always amazed at. It's like, I had no idea.
Well, we're seeing it something I think sort of exotic. I've been in the last 3 weeks in Cleveland, Philadelphia, and DC, and it was freezing. And it was gray, and it was cloudy and depressing. And I would mention that I was from Arizona, and the universe was, I would love to be in Arizona right now, right?
That's right.
And I got home because I was freezing for 3 weeks, and I got off the plane. It just felt perfect, right? It's just you can't beat it.
Yeah, and we do the same. We take joy in doing that. I'm sure with your colleagues, like, yeah, no, it's maybe 20 degrees, and back home it's 70.
That's the conversations I was having.
Yeah.
So, I think one of the hallmarks of your time at Visit Phoenix is that you really are someone who likes to collaborate and work with local business community. Talk about some of your priorities there.
4 years ago, we created the community engagement department. And it truly is I felt, and the team felt this as well, is we are better known outside the community. When you go to other states, they know about our organization. But internally here within the metro area, we weren't really well known. And if we're trying to build a better community through tourism, we better have a really good opportunity to communicate with our local businesses, stakeholders. They're the ones that make it happen. And so, we have over 1,000 partners now, as we call them, with Visit Phoenix, from Tucson all the way to the Grand Canyon. And
So we partner with Tucson.
Oh, we absolutely.
Right? It's not
you're
not frenemies. You actually work together.
We work together, and it truly is a wonderful place because we want to make the state better, right? And I think we all kind of have that attitude is within our own little communities. How do we work together to improve our communities? But from that standpoint, I think you'll see a lot of that cooperation, the collaboration happen. For example, when we go after a major event, the type of impact that has up to the Grand Canyon, even those visitors that come in. So we do a lot of effort here locally to get into the local businesses. And I always tell people, it's like, I want your cash registers to ring. We talked about and some of the great marketing that this organization has done, whose offices we're with, is like, it's amazing when you tell a story and you tell it the right way and you shine a light on someone very deserving. The type of reaction our community plays. And I always think back to when I got here, going to Pizzeria Bianco.
Yes.
It's like, well, it's a 3-hour wait. And I remember just smiling like, there you go. Great product, great person, but you shine a major light on that. And I think that's what our team takes pride in is how do we shine a light on our businesses? All the business that, if we're buying things from businesses, they're all local. We want to make sure that we're understanding the needs. And what's great about being here, there's so many untold stories. There's so many mom and pop restaurants or mom and pop businesses that are just trying to, get their name out there, and they have great products and there's a great story.
Yeah.
And so we find ourselves with so much opportunity, but little time to get out there and interview and get those messages out there. And so what we try to do internally, strategically, talking about that, is we want to build a place when I push a button or we push a button to post a message on social, how does 10 million people read that all at the same time? So how do we build that ecosystem that we can shine a light on that business to the world? And so that gives us the most pleasure. It kind of goes right back to the roots, like how are we building a better community?
Well, and I think that makes you maybe unconventional, because I think, it would be fair to have someone in your role that is just focused on bringing people in, and that's kind of it. But your focus has always been a community play.
Right.
And I think that's really commendable. I guess turning that around, what can the business community and the broader community do to support you in your work?
Well, I love it. It's a great question because we don't know all the stories. We don't know all the businesses that have an impact, right, to all of our tourism partners. And you think about one thing, I love this, and I forget who told me this. When you think about our industry, it's everything from A to Z. It's architects that are working on the next project, whether it be retail development or hotels or restaurants, to zoologists. People don't go to the zoos, or zoos don't operate without people going through the turnstiles and paying money. And so with that being said, there are so many great stories out here. And I'm always fascinated. I'll meet somebody or hear a story about a mixologist. Like, did you know they're one of the top mixologists in the country? Like, I had no idea. But those are the things we always stumble upon, and some we realize. But I think from a small business standpoint, reach out to us. And because that is our mission, is how do we put a spotlight on these small businesses who are really the DNA of who we are and help build this community. And what's great is they're not in one area. They're all across all the districts and all of our great neighborhoods. Let's get out there and find those stories.
All right. We heard that here first.
Good.
So what's your vision for Visit Phoenix in the next 5 to 10 years? Where do you want to see it go? Maybe, I guess I should ask for the community as well.
Yeah, no, I think kind of looking at how the things are laying out, continuing to grow into an international destination is going to be a priority. You'll hear me talk a lot about why I love our business community and why I love also like what you do and what economic development does. Whenever a new company moves in, that's business travelers. Business travelers come in during the week. That's big. Yeah. So we celebrate those type of things. I think for us growing in the international space, it gets me excited because don't you love when you get to tell someone about what you do and they have no idea and then they realize how great this destination is? And so for us, getting out there, getting ahead of the curve, we call it softening the market. How do we get into the next place? How do we get into India and get them excited about visiting this place called Arizona or even, the Phoenix area? So I think that's going to be a big part of our strategy moving forward. You'll continue to see a lot of focus in our build out. Again, fourth largest market for hotel pipeline in the country. How do we get those projects, help them get out of the ground and open? Again, we have enough demand, and a lot of my focus and energy is also going to be on downtown. And you've seen all the cranes in the air. I mean, I always say thank God for ASU and the city diversifying its assets many years ago. We're not just a tourism town and anymore. We're blessed to have so many other areas that are growing. How do we cultivate that? How do we grow that? Our downtown is, I keep going back to it, that is that anchor point for us. We want our downtown to be full all the time. And I speak selfishly from the hotel standpoint. Sure. If downtown's full, that means I'm going to compress the rest of the market with all this demand coming in. So that's going to be a major focus. And then also do a lot of work with the airport. We partner with the airport. How do we assist in helping them achieve their goals is going to be big because, I really feel that our best days are ahead. Yep. People that don't know about us are going to learn about us, and we're going to lean in really heavily to what the city is doing and where we're going, kind of building that city of the future, which Mayor Kate is focused in on. And so that gets me excited. I really think that, we're just at the very beginning of this growth curve.
Yeah. Well, it is interesting how far ahead we are on some things already. It's always interesting when people come in from out of town and they see a Waymo, for instance, it just blows their mind. And they would never do it. It's completely dangerous. And then they do it. And that was amazing, and it was safe. And so, all of these things where we're so far ahead. Would
yes,
you agree?
And that's the foresight. Not every city has that. I've had the luxury of working on it with a lot of different cities, and to be in a place where the city embraces that is exciting, and it's not everywhere. And so for us, the Waymo, I was just talking. We had a friend in from out of town, and over the weekend, and he was like, "What are those cars with no people?" I'm like, "It's exciting." Yeah. For us, we see them every day.
Absolutely,
it's common,
but we know it's safe and it's clean and great. Yeah.
And so I get excited about the biomed campus downtown, the School of Medicine that's coming in, and I mean just all those great areas. Mayo. Yeah. I mean, just learning about what they're going to be doing up north, and these are game changers. And you got to think each of those topics in their own right, a city would love to have one of those. And so, I always just give praise to the people who've been well before us and kind of diversifying where we're going. It's a great place.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about medical tourism. Another one for the next time. It's huge. And to your point, such amazing healthcare here in the Valley.
Yes.
For people to come to. Well, thank you for not only being here today, but for really everything you've done.
I appreciate it.
4 years have passed in a flash, and it's just been such a, I think it's such a benefit to have you in Phoenix and in Arizona. Before we let you go, we're going to do a quick lightning round.
Okay.
We'll do first job. What was your first, and not only professional, first job?
It was raking bunkers at a country club back home outside of Houston.
What'd you learn?
It's one of those where since I was the new person, they gave me all the go clean out the ant beds. And so you learn really quick.
You're that guy.
I was that guy. So that was a lot of fun.
Okay. So obviously Phoenix is number one, but outside of Phoenix, favorite destination to go to for vacation?
Oh gosh, well, I would say domestically, we love the ocean, so getting out anywhere towards the ocean, I would say is good. We also love the mountains. In fact, we'll be going up to Colorado later this year, so we kind of have both those things going on. And my family loves getting over to Europe and just exploring that area. So,
Getting lost?
Yeah, getting lost, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right, first concert.
Oh my God, Willie Nelson.
Oh.
Yes,
Very
Willie
good.
Nelson. Yeah,
Wow,
isn't that cool?
That's credibility.
Yes,
Very
yeah,
nice.
being a Texan, I got my points there.
Excellent, very good. And then, so you mentioned all your the new places you've discovered. What's your favorite place today that you've been going to for either for dinner or for lunch with the family?
This is going to sound really bad, but I really love Steak 44. And Steak 44 is one of these places, they just treat you right, they do it. And they also give back in the community. And you know the people out there, it's like they are just as passionate about having a great community as they having a great product.
Absolutely.
And they're one of many, but that's the one that jumps off.
It doesn't sound bad. It sounds pretty good right now.
It's
We're actually
good,
pretty
right?
close. We might have to head over there. So thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being here, and we'll look forward to having you back.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks for watching this episode of Let's Talk Business Phoenix. Please take a moment to tap the follow or subscribe button for more great podcast episodes to help your business thrive.